Hello, fellow horror fans. Well, our look at the Friday the 13th franchise continues on with Friday the 13th, Part 3. So, here we go. Following the events of the previous film, a badly injured and unmasked Jason Voorhees goes to a lakefront store for a change of clothes. While there, he murders the store owners. Harold is killed with a meat cleaver slammed into his chest, and his wife Enna is impaled through the back of the head with a knitting needle. Meanwhile, Chris Higgins and her friends travel Higgins Haven, rolled home on Crystal Lake, to spend the weekend. The gang includes pregnant Debbie, her boyfriend Andy, prankster Shelley, his blind date Vera, who does not reciprocate his feelings, and stoners Chuck and Chili. After running into a man named Abel, who warns them to turn back, the gang meets Chris's boyfriend Rick at their destination. At a convenience store, Shelley and Vera get into a confrontation with bikers Allie, Fox, and Loco. Shelley gets in the car and knocks down their motorcycles, impressing Vera. Later, the bikers show up at Higgins Haven, where they take the gas out of the van and attempt to burn down the barn to get even. Jason, who has been hiding in the barn, murders Fox and Loco with a pitchfork before beating Allie unconscious. That night, Chris and Rick head out into the woods. Chris tells Rick the main reason she returned is to confront her fears, and she explains how she was attacked by a deformed man 2 years earlier, causing her to leave Crystal Lake in order to escape the trauma. Interesting. Back at Higgins Haven, Shelley scares Vera with a hockey mask and then wanders into the barn, where Jason slashes his throat. Taking his mask to conceal his face, Jason proceeds to murder the rest of the group. Vera retrieves Shelley's wallet from under the dock and is shot in the eye with a spear gun. Ugh. Jason enters the house and bisects his hand-standing Andy with a machete. Debbie finishes her shower and rests on a hammock, where Jason thrusts a knife through her chest from beneath, killing her. Ooh. When the power goes out in the house, Chuck goes downstairs to the basement only for Jason to hurl him into the fuse box, electrocuting him. Shelley finds that everyone is dead and is then impaled with a hot fire poker. Yikes. When Rick's car dies, Chris and Rick are forced to walk back to the house to find it in disarray. Rick steps outside to search the grounds, but Jason grabs him and crushes his skull with his bare hands, making one of his eyes pop out of its socket. Ugh. Jason then texts Chris, who nearly escapes the house and tries to flee in her van. The van runs out of gas and Chris makes her way to the barn to hide, but Jason attacks her again. Inside the barn, Chris strikes Jason over the head with a shovel and hangs him. He regains consciousness and unmasks himself temporarily to show Chris he is the man who attacked her 2 years ago. Okay then. Arrived Allie tries to attack Jason, but he is quickly dispatched. The distraction allows Chris to strike Jason in the head with an axe. Jason staggers momentarily towards her before finally collapsing. Exhausted, Chris pushes a canoe out into the lake and falls asleep. Gee, where have we seen this before? Chris has a nightmare of an unmasked Jason running towards her from the house before disappearing, which then turns into the decomposing body of Pamela Voorhees, with her head attached, emerging from the lake to pull her in. The following morning, the police arrive and escort a traumatized Chris from Higgins Haven. Jason's body is shown to be still lying in the barn, as the lake is shown at peace. And again, where have we seen that before? So anyway, let's take a look at this film beginning. So let's take a good look at the analysis of this movie. Film scholar Jim Harper has noted Friday the 13th, Part 3 for its final goal character, Chris, suffering from childhood trauma resulting from sexual assault, which leaves her unable to engage in intimate relationships, although there was no undisputed evidence of what has really happened to her. In the film, Chris's trauma stems from an attack she survived from Jason Voorhees, which leaves her mentally scarred. According to Jim Harper's interpretation, in comparison to the final girl characters in other contemporaneous slasher films such as Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street, Chris's failure to engage in sexual relations is a function of trauma as opposed to repression or dysfunction. Alright, let's take a look at the production of this movie beginning with the screenplay. Initially, one of the earlier drafts for Part 3 was Ginny from the previous film being sent to a psychiatric hospital and confined there. Suffering from the events of Part 2, she eventually finds out that Jason Voorhees survived from his wound and tracks her down to the hospital, burning to staff and other patients at the hospital. At the time, Steele turned down the role due to her involvement in other projects, resulting in significant script changes. Screenwriter Ron Kurz, who had written Part 2, was offered to write the screenplay, but also turned the project down. Husband and wife screenwriting duo Martin Kitrosser, sorry if I butchered that, and Carol Watson instead were hired to write the screenplay for Part 3, completing the first draft. Paramount subsequently brought in Petru Popescu to alter the screenplay and make it more sinister and menacing. Though the final filmed version of the script contained significant contributions from Popescu, he remained uncredited. Rude. The script for Part 3 called for Jason to wear a mask to cover his face, having worn a bag over his head in Part 2. This mask would become a trademark for the character, and one instantly recognizable in popular culture in the years to come. Makes sense. Now about the casting. Screenwriter Popescu had said casting was based on looks rather than talent, and recalled that his vision of the characters was at significant odds with the cast chosen by director Steve Miner. Dana Kimmel was cast in the lead role Chris Higgins after Miner had become aware of her involvement in Sweet 16, another slasher film. Tracy Savage, who had previously worked as a child actor, was offered the role through her agent. Larry Zerner was discovered by casting directors while walking along the street, and was offered the role of Shelley. For the role of Jason Voorhees, Miner cast British stuntman Richard Brooker. Now on to filming. Georgetown Productions, who had produced the previous two installments in the Friday the 13th series, was initially involved in the pre-production of Part 3, agreeing with distributor Paramount Pictures to shoot the film with 3D cameras, making it the first Paramount film produced in 3D since Jivaro in 1954. Paramount leased two 3D-Pix cameras from the photography company Marx Polaris Corporation to shoot the film. Simultaneously, Paramount executive Al Lopresti was researching current 3D camera technology with the intention of developing a 3D lens to be owned and exclusively used by Paramount. According to September 1982 issue of Forbes magazine, Series 2 Corp owner Gail Weaver visited the set of Friday the 13th Part 3, reportedly over producer Frank Musco Jr.'s worries that faulty production lenses at cinemas would prevent the film from having a wide theatrical release. Over a 2-week period, Weaver developed a prototype lens that would be adaptable to almost all theater projectors. Paramount subsequently awarded Series 2 Corp. $1 million to manufacture the lenses, which will be used in projection, to the exclusion of Marx projection lenses. Marx Polaris Corporation subsequently filed a $25 million lawsuit against Paramount, alleging the studio was, quote, monopolizing the marketing of 3D exhibition materials, as well as providing deductions to theaters choosing to lease projection lenses directly from Paramount. Paramount ultimately agreed to credit Marx Polaris Corporation on screen with the statement, quote, filmed utilizing the Marx 3D-Pix converter, but the company was denied an injunction that would have required Paramount to change its equipment. Friday the 13th Part 3 was shot on location at Volusia Movie Ranch in Saugus, California. The house, barn, and lake featured in the film were all custom built. The house remained on the ranch lot until it burned down in 2012. Well, that sucks. Additional photography for the film's grocery store scenes took place at a small market in Green Valley, California. Because of the newness of the 3D camera lenses, the shooting process was extensive, with the crew sometimes taking hours to set up a shot, and the cast performing multiple takes of scenes in order for the cinematographer to properly capture the 3D effects. The design to dress Jason Voorhees in his now signature hockey mask occurred during a lighting check on set. The film's 3D effects supervisor Martin Sadoff was a hockey fan and supplied a Detroit Red Wings goaltender mask to Miner. Miner loved the mask, but during test shots found it was too small. Using a technique called vacuum form, makeup effects director Doug White enlarged the mask and created a new mold to work with. After White finished the molds, art director Terry Ballard placed new red triangles on the mask to give it a unique appearance. Holes were punched into the mask, and the markings were altered, making it different from Sadoff's original template. There were 2 prosthetic face masks created for Richard Brooker to wear underneath the hockey mask. One mask was composed of approximately 11 different appliances. It took about 6 hours to apply to Brooker's face. This mask was used for scenes where the hockey mask was removed. In the scenes where the hockey mask is over the face, a simple head mask was created. This one-piece mask would simply slip on over Brooker's head, exposing his face but not the rest of his head. Well that's interesting. And now finally, the music. The film's music was composed by Harry Manfredini, who previously composed the scores of the series' first 2 installments. A disco theme was also included in the film, created by Manfredini and Michael Zager, who shared a credit with a fictional band called Hot Ice. The theme was included on releases of the film's soundtrack, and according to Manfredini, became popular at disco and gay clubs at the time. Upon the release of the 3rd film in 1982, Gramavision Records released an LP album of selected pieces of Manfredini's scores from the first 3 Friday the 13th films. On January 13, 2012, La La Land Records released a limited edition 6-CD box set containing Manfredini's scores from the first 6 films. It sold out in less than 24 hours. So overall, I see this entry of the franchise is pretty darn good, and the fact that it takes place the following day is kind of neat as well. So, yeah. So overall, I give Friday the 13th Part 3 4 jack-o'-lanterns out of 5. Well, I won't be doing any reviews tomorrow because I got stuff I gotta do, but I will come back on Monday the 7th with Friday the 13th, the final chapter. So, yeah. So, until then,